All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Alexa Tinsley, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement for Jett Foundation. Thank you all for joining us for our Rare Disease Day event. We're very excited. Like others, we're celebrating today to help raise awareness for individuals in rare diseases and their families. Our theme this year is Thriving with Duchenne, and we are so excited for you to be a part of it and to hear from all of our panelists. We did unfortunately have one that was not able to make it today, Leslie, but hopefully he'll be hopping on later on the call. But we do have our others here and our moderators, so I will introduce them shortly. Thank you so much for being here, and a huge thank you to all of our sponsors who you can see here. So thank you all to all of them, because we definitely couldn't do it without you. Before we get started, I do want to mention a few things. This webinar is being recorded, so if you have anybody that is not able to attend, you can share that with them after the fact, or if for some reason you lose connection or you have to hop off, you can watch this later as well. We have closed captioning available as well. So if you click on the CC icon, you can choose to have the subtitles on your screen, or there's actually a full transcript available as well. If the font's too small for you, you can also click on the arrow next to the CC, choose settings, and then you should be able to make the font larger on your screen. If for some reason you're not able to see that, please, put in the chat that you need some help and someone will assist you. Today's event will last about till 2:30 Eastern time. We'll be leaving 15 minutes at the end of the panel portion for you to ask questions to our panelists. If you have any questions though, please put them in the Q&A box, because that's what we're going to be going off of. And we'll try to get to as many as we can in that 15 minutes. So the webinar today, the panelist portion will take about an hour and 15 minutes. And then after, we'll be answering those questions. We do also have the chat function available to you, but all questions will be read through the Q&A portal. And then with that, I would love to introduce you to our two moderators today, Sean and Kyle. They're the hosts of the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. So Sean and Kyle are adults living with Friedreich's ataxia. So thank you guys for being a part of this. We're so excited to have you, and I will now hand it off to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Alexa. We are so excited to be here. Rare Disease Day is a special day for us because we have a rare disease. Both Sean and I have a disease called Friedreich's ataxia. And on this day, we love to observe the power of community. In fact, this panel came together because of a connection to another friend in the rare disease community. So how's that for connections, collaboration? It's beautiful. Thank you, Alexa, and your whole team for helping us be on today and for facilitating this interaction. Sean and I met because we have the same condition, but we truly connect over this idea of living beyond circumstances, no matter what those circumstances are. We've done a couple of long distance bike rides and a hiking adventure together. And we continue to push our physical limits, but we expand our other limits in our lives by discussing things on our weekly podcast.
Over the last 5 years, we've realized that simply talking about things, even the hard stuff, diminishes control over our lives and encourages all of us to keep moving forward, whether it's FA, Duchenne, or anything else. It is always an honor for us to participate in events like this, especially in recognition of Rare Disease Day. And it is especially touching to see so many sponsors supporting such an event and ultimately working diligently to help make life better through treatments and the possibilities of cure. So I echo the gratitude for the sponsors making today possible. Thank you. We are excited to introduce you to Elijah and Anthony. We are missing our other panelists right now, but I am confident that Elijah and Anthony, if they don't have the right words, at least their killer good looks will get us through this session. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. Anthony, would you mind kicking us off with a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Anthony. I'm 29 with Duchenne, and I think from a young age I always had a trouble being social. Trying to fit into social groups and trying to hang out with my friends. Um, and that kind of continued until today. So I guess like now I am a optimistic, outgoing person. I have found other ways to be social in the virtual world and other ways to get involved, be it with technology or adapting or accessibility. And I'm just really like all about inclusion and all about making sure that everybody can be involved. And that's really what I stand for. And I always live by my motto. Despite my disability, my abilities have no bounds. And I try to teach others the same, that no matter what their abilities are, they can accomplish so many amazing things. So I'm happy to be here and happy to celebrate Rare Disease Day with everybody.
You know, we had the privilege of first meeting Anthony probably 2 years ago, maybe 3, something like that. And Anthony, I would never guess that you had some social issues when you were younger. You are a bright light, and in a sense, you're a social butterfly today. So I appreciate the fact that you were able to overcome some of those hindrances in your younger years, and you're being yourself today. So thanks for being here, man. Elijah, up to you, my friend.
Well, my name's Elijah Stacey. I'm 20 years old. I suffer from Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an author, and I'm a public speaker.
You gotta unpack that a little bit. You're 20, an entrepreneur, an author, a public speaker. I'm twice your age and barely any of that. So can you tell us a little bit about what some of that looks like?
Sure. So when I was 15 years old, I founded Destroy Duchenne. It's a nonprofit organization that aims at advancing gene editing and gene therapy into human practice. And so that's the organization that I started that basically starts the whole entrepreneur journey. And then from there, I just started doing things here and there in my personal life. But then I became an author last year. I wrote the book A Small Life, which is a memoir about my life that includes 13 life lessons that I learned through all the adversity and experiences that I went through. Part of Duchenne is you lose your ability to walk. So I lost my ability to walk at age 11. You lose mobility in your arms, and then you have to deal with the fact that it's a fatal disease for now. And not only that, I lost my brother Max when he was 14 years old to Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So I've seen all the pain and adversity that this disease brings to a family. So I had to go through that. But that's not all I talk about in the book. The book's really not a book about Duchenne, but it's a book about overcoming adversity. So I included those life lessons to help other people, because I think that things are important, like self-image, dichotomy of control, having an adapter's mindset. These are some of the lessons that I learned. And, I talk about things like growing up on the football field. I was raised by a head football coach. And so that had to do something to my psyche to make me super competitive and wanting to go after goals in life and always try to strive to be better. That's something I talk about in the book. Other things I talk about is when I was in elementary school, my friends encouraged me to play basketball in my wheelchair. And I didn't think I was able to, but I had to change my self-image. And when I was able to do that, I started to play competitively every single day, and basketball became a huge part of my life. And it was a huge part of integrating me to be seen as like everybody else, because when you act like everybody else, they're going to see you like everybody else. And so, yeah, that's what the book's about. Nice. And public speaking, I speak to different organizations, schools, political groups.
Nice.
Wherever I speak to everybody, share my story, and try to inspire people to become their ultimate self.
Well, we do want to get into a few more of those accomplishments, really, for both of you. But before we get too far, whether it's for my own personal sake or maybe some other families or sponsors that may not have a perfectly clear glimpse of how Duchenne affects people. Obviously, you two are in sort of different stages of that disease today. Can you, maybe Anthony, we'll throw it back to you, but can you give us a brief description of how Duchenne has impacted your life over the last, few years, or what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, I would say like early on when I was younger, like I didn't really notice it, but it was more my parents noticed it. And that's why they reached out to the doctor to get a blood test and get a diagnosis. Um, I guess it really like over the years I would slowly lose abilities to do things. But I guess like in my current state, I have to use a non-invasive ventilator throughout the day and night. I have to use a wheelchair all the time, and like one of the biggest things like that I'll be getting into is like I lost the ability to play video games because my hands and arms became weaker. So like all the time, I've always had to adapt and really just get used to losing the abilities because even though I lost some abilities, I that didn't mean that I didn't have the ability to share my story or didn't have the ability to keep living my life and be positive. Um, so that's about it. Like I need help with everything, but like having someone always there for me to help me has really like allowed me to have someone to talk to all the time. Give me so many friends, and like really you may think that living with Duchenne is difficult, but I think it becomes more difficult if you have the mindset that it is difficult. Like if you have a positive mindset, I think that really like you're always gonna have those difficulties and those weaknesses, but I really don't let them define me. And like if there's something that I can't do, that really ignites the fire under me and makes me think of, all right, if I can't do this, how can I adapt and do it a different way?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anthony, I think, what you're getting at is like recognizing that we do have limits, right? I think that's an important part of living beyond our limitations, living beyond our circumstances, is recognizing them and figuring out how to work with them instead of against them. And my friend John Tillotson says that, recognizing our limits, that may seem like negative thinking, but no, it's a high form of positive thinking, because then you can figure out how to get to work with those things. So I like that a lot.
Elijah, I want to give you a chance to answer that question. What are some of the things you're up against on a day-to-day basis?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's so there's a lot of things that we're going to be up against compared to somebody that doesn't have Duchenne. And, that includes the moment you wake up out of bed, you have to, for me at least, I have to climb out of my bed, climb into my wheelchair because I want to remain as independent as I possibly can. What Anthony talked about sounds like the adapter's mindset, right? Always trying to be able to adapt or whatever. What I figured out is if I raise my bed up, it's a hospital bed. So if I raise the feet part up, then it makes, and I sit on that, it makes it higher than the height of my wheelchair. So then I just I slide over and I let gravity just let me fall down and get into my chair. That would be the first obstacle I have to overcome every single day. But now it's just like, it's just natural. It's just part of my day. So I do that. Then, putting on clothes could be harder if you have muscle weakness in your arms, putting on your, pants, shorts, whatever, that could be harder too because you're sitting down. These are things that I think most people would take for granted, but a person with Duchenne, it's a constant fight. But that's why it makes us such fighters, right? That's why when we face something that, people without Duchenne would go against, they complain about, for us, we're used to fighting. So we're in that fighter's mindset. So those are some of the things, I could talk about. If you travel, that's harder. You have to have the right vehicle to travel. If you go to a friend's house, you have to have a ramp to get into the friend's house. I mean, the way I like to think about it, the way I like to tell people that don't have Duchenne, is basically imagine that you're in a wheelchair and think about wheelchair and steps. And then also think about, you can't bear any weight on your legs or use your arms. Tell me how you would get around your day, how you would do your day-to-day things. Just think about it. Close your eyes and imagine that. And if you really think about it, you say, okay, eating food's going to be harder. Waiting on a shirt would be harder. Yeah, I don't think I'd actually be able to go up and get into my house without a ramp. So I need a ramp now. You would start to see all the difficulties and you'd really see that, okay, yeah, this disease is really a tough one. So.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you guys are both obviously thriving with Duchenne. So I think that title just blends beautifully with both of you. Elijah, you talked about, being 20 and all the things that you've accomplished thus far. What are you most proud of today?
What am I most proud of?
Yeah. Besides that handsome beard.
Oh, Sean, you're bringing the jokes today. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm proud of, I guess.
We can give it to Anthony too
Well-
if you want to think about it.
Well, I got my answer. I would say, I know this will sound cliche or whatever, but I truly am proud of this. My little brother Kai, he's 14. He has Duchenne.
Mm.
I'm really proud of the fact that he's having that same mindset that I am, that I'm rubbing off on him, if you will, in the sense that, he doesn't even see the wheelchair anymore. He doesn't view himself as somebody that has this disease, that he doesn't view himself as, somebody that can't do things, but he sees himself as somebody that's like everybody else, that is pushing himself to accomplish great things. I mean, he just made honor roll in school, so I'm very happy with that. And it's great to see that, because that's really what is important, is building somebody's character, right? That's what really what I think life comes down to, is somebody's character. So I'm really proud that I'm being a good influence on him. That's something that I am incredibly proud of, because that's hard to do. That's really hard to do, and it's great to see.
Yeah,
love
I think
hearing
that's
that.
something to be very proud of. I'm a younger brother. I looked up to my brother. I still do. But I hope he's proud of the things that he's taught me, and I love seeing that in you, that you're really bringing it for your brother and recognizing that he sees that in you. It's lovely.
Anthony, how about you? Same question. What is something you're proud of today?
I guess it's almost like the same thing. My sister recently had a baby, and I've been able to spend a lot of time with her. And like my brother has grown up like knowing me, and so has my sister, knowing all the difficulties I go through. And I hope that like my optimistic attitude and my mindset have also rubbed off on them, because like knowing someone from a young age with a disability or with Duchenne, I think that really impacts how you treat other people with disabilities as you grow up, and how you treat others that are different. So I'm just happy that I'm happy that I'm able to have this mindset, and I'm able to articulate it through writing and music and other forms of media. Because I think like that attitude rubs off on people, just like Elijah said. And like if that's my legacy, that I impacted the lives of my family and my new niece, I think like that's the best legacy I can give.
Absolutely.
Anthony, I know you affect people outside of your family too, with a lot of things you do. You said in your intro that inclusion is very important to you. And can you tell us about some of the specific things you are doing to help include more people in activities they love to do?
Yeah, I would say like ever since the pandemic started, like things have opened up more in the virtual world, because like that struggle to be social was not really due to me being shy or anything like that. It was really due to the difficulty of going to a friend's house and you don't know if you can get in, or going to a dance and you don't know if there's someone there that will be able to help you. So I think like now that the world is open up virtually, it really opened the door for me and many other people with disabilities, because I finally was able to feel included in society. I was able to join the board of Our Odyssey, which is a nonprofit that's providing social connection for young adults with rare disease. I was able to take part in that and later join their board. I was able to join the International Association of Business Communicators through my place of work, and I really got to meet other people that are in the same field as me, communications field, and it really like gave me a chance to like feel included. And the list goes on and on of all the other things I was able to take part in. So to like make sure that that level of inclusion remains even after the pandemic, and as things continue to change for the better, I have been working with an organization called IMCCA, and it's a association of large technology companies like Intel and Poly and Zoom. And I'm just working with them to make sure that even after the pandemic, we always have a way for people with disabilities and really anybody around the world to be included virtually. And for every in-person event, it doesn't take much effort to add a virtual option or to make it hybrid. Like, we've realized that like the technologies are there, we just have to use them. That doesn't mean spending tons of money and getting cameras and everything. It could be as simple as using Zoom or using a free software in order to make people feel included. And I've spoken on that many times, even at the IABC conference that I talked about. I actually spoke there the next year in the virtual conference. Just want to make sure that everything remains as open as it is now in the future.
Love it.
As frustrating and depressing and challenging and difficult that the last couple of years has been for the entire globe, there's certainly a few lessons to be learned and to glean from. And I think how common and really easy virtual has been is certainly one of those eye-opening sort of situations that has been beneficial for many events and organizations along the way. Absolutely.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit here and go back to you, Elijah. You're obviously, I think everyone can see that you're a pretty confident person. What makes you so confident that you're going to be able to handle Duchenne your whole life as things progress with Duchenne and with your life?
I mean, to be honest with you, this is a multi, there's a lot of answers to this question. I'd first start off with, I truly believe with every fiber of my being that we're going to cure this disease. I believe that we're entering the golden age of medicine. So I'm not really worried too much about, will there ever be a cure or will the situation get better? As Anthony was saying, technology is constantly increasing and we're constantly making things better. We look at, things going to be more virtual. We talk about the metaverse, if you will, right? We have the metaverse and things leaning that way. And, so there's things like that. There's technology that can help lift people that have already faced a lot of muscle loss. And then also, within the pharmaceutical industry that we're developing cures and treatments that will improve the situation. So I'm very confident in medicine. I think that we're entering the golden age of medicine, and I want to play a part in that. and reap its benefits for myself, for everybody here, and for my little brother. And I want to see this happen. I want to get it done for humanity. So there's that. The other thing too is I'm confident in my ability to overcome whatever I go through. You know, I've done it before, so why can't I do it again? And my whole life is just one that's filled with, you know, adversity and overcoming it. So I'm confident in myself that I'll be able to do it. And then, you know, I have a strong faith. I have a very, very strong faith. And I believe that we're all created here with a purpose. And I believe that, you know, it's important to view things that way, because, you know, if you don't view things with a purpose, then it's all meaningless. So it doesn't matter if you have Duchenne or if you're Kobe Bryant, right? It doesn't matter what your health is like, because, you know, it's all meaningless. But if there's a purpose to things, then I believe that I'm meant to have this disease and go through this adversity for some higher reason. So I have faith that, you know, God will help me overcome this, and that he'll use it to do good in the world. So that's really where my confidence comes from, in my ability to overcome adversity and for the future, whatever it may be.
No, I hearing you guys talk and just thinking about what you're up against every day, I'm reminded of the cartoon. Oh shoot, I don't even know what it's called. The Roadrunner and Wiley the Coyote. Is it called Roadrunner? I don't even remember. But you know, the coyote is constantly going after the Roadrunner, and he never catches the Roadrunner. And in a sense, I feel like that's rare disease, right? Whether it's just climbing out of bed every day, or trying to put a shirt on, or trying to eat lunch, we're constantly up against the odds. So besides the confidence that you both kind of exude today, Anthony, could you tell us what keeps you motivated? What keeps you moving against those odds every single day?
Yeah, well, I saw one of the questions in the chat about like when I had to move to a wheelchair, how did I deal with it? And like also how did I deal with like not being able to play video games? I guess I'll answer both of those questions. So like I think for me it's all about like if I'm struggling to deal with something, I think it's all about just like finding a way to shift my mindset so that I can realize that even though it may be frustrating, there's also good that can come out of it.
Mm.
Like for instance, when I started to use a power wheelchair, at first I was like wary about it, and then I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. But once I started using it, I realized like I'm not getting tired anymore. I'm able to go around freely and be more independent. Like that was like the shift in the mindset that I had to make, is that even though yes it's different, and yes it may, like at first I felt like using a wheelchair was giving up, but really it was allowing me to adapt, because like ever since I got in my wheelchair, it allowed me to be more independent. And like the same thing for any other barrier I had to overcome. Like in order to overcome my social barriers, I decided to share my story, because I realized that like the unknown to people is scarier than like knowing what I'm going through. And really that allowed me to open up and allowed them to ask me questions and really just like understand what I'm going through, and realize that like being with me is not that scary. And like in terms of video games, um like when I like lost the ability to play video games using a real controller, I thought about, okay, if there was a dream controller that I could create that existed, what would it be? And like what would allow me to play games again? So that's why I reached out to my friend in the Playability Initiative, and we decided to work on a accessible controller called Overjoyed that will allow me to use the limited ability that I had in order to still do what I love. So I guess really like I have that confidence because I shift my mindset, and also because I am able to like figure out how to solve a problem, but not just figure out how to do it, but also figure out, okay, how can I do this myself? Because sitting around and waiting for someone else to find a way for you to adapt isn't going to get anything done. I think it's just about having that idea, or just talking to someone about what you're going through, and maybe together you can figure out a solution.
Anthony, you make it sound so simple. And to a certain extent it is, right? All these things, like, take them at face value. Like, for example, you transitioning to a power chair. It's so scary, and I agree it is. I started using a power chair not too long ago too, but you see it, you come around to see it as something that's going to help you. And you see it objectively when we can remove our emotions from the situation and see things like, what do we need to get done? All right, like, I need to get around with less effort, and that's why I need the chair. So, and you used, I don't know, you seem to see things very objectively in a lot of different arenas. So I really appreciate that.
Looks like
Guojon, hey.
we've got another friend joining us. Guojon, how are you?
I'm good. I don't have the background.
That's okay.
Hmm.
We'll let you get comfortable, and then we'll ask you to introduce yourself here in just a minute.
Yes.
Elijah, a question for you. What is we threw that one to Anthony first. Could you give us one or two things that help you remain optimistic and I don't want to say aggressive, but you keep getting up every day and you keep moving forward? What is something that helps you stay on that mindset, or in that mindset?
Well, I think I'm a natural optimist, right? I think that's just kind of my nature. But when it comes to not being negative or keep being motivated, I don't see the logic. I see no practical value or benefit to being negative. For example, I could sit here and complain, I'm in a wheelchair, I have Duchenne, my life sucks, it's so terrible. I'm still in a wheelchair and I still have Duchenne. It doesn't change anything. But if I view things as being positive and I try to find the benefit in what is going good in my life and what I could do about the situation, start a nonprofit, get involved, raise money, advance science, try trials, it gets better. Now I have something to hope for. Now I have something that is going down a better path, something that's going to change the current situation. It kind of reminds me of, what Anthony just said. He had a problem. He wants to be able to play video games. He has a different situation now. But instead of complaining about it, he got on the phone and he made it happen. And I think that's an amazing thing. And that's how we got to view our situations, whether you have Duchenne or you're just going through life. Make things happen. Make the phone call. Brainstorm how you could solve it. Complaining doesn't solve anything. It does not. It honestly just makes the situation worse, in my opinion, because now you're just negative and you're focusing on negativity, and now you're just adding, more stress and bad feelings to your life, and it's not going to help you do anything. Not to get nerdy, but they actually have done studies where you could view what that does to your brain. You don't think as good. You don't think as sharp as you would as if you were viewing things positively. So it's just going to hurt your problem solving ability as well. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I feel like there's a clip in there, a soundbite, if you will, that we could all hit play on every morning. Just that 12 seconds of make the call, take the action, whatever, those words you used. I feel like maybe that's all I need every day to be a little more productive on my end as well. Guojon, looks like your background is perfect, my friend. We're gonna throw it to you. Some people might know a little bit about you, they might know you personally. Obviously, we have a lot of people watching. Can you first tell us where you're from? Maybe that might explain a little bit of the delay, but also tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Where you from? And what do you do?
So my name is Guojon Oskarsson, and I come from Reykjavik, Iceland. And so that's why I messed the time difference up. I thought it was a little bit later. So yeah.
We forgive you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All good.
And I don't know what to say. I'm 30. I'm becoming 31-year-old, and I have Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And I just recently finished my PhD in genetics, and I originally am a pharmacologist.
Wow.
So I got a bachelor and master's in pharmacology,
Hmm.
and I'm now working in genetic research.
Wow. Well, the first question for you then, obviously you're thriving as well, despite your difficulties.
Mhm.
What is something that keeps you motivated and moving forward? You've accomplished more than Kyle ever will. Probably true for me as well, but congratulations, by the way, on finishing your schooling. What keeps you moving in that direction?
I don't really have a good answer to that, but I've always just had the next goal, just next degree in a way. And that's always just been the next goal in my life. And I haven't really stopped to think much, but what drives me in general is kind of, there is this idea of, there, can I say that what drives me is the idea that there is little meaning to existence. And in that sense, we are all in that together. So nobody has so we're all in, I might sound morbid in this, I don't know what, we're all in it together.
Mm.
And therefore I have to find some reason to make it worth it. And that kind of drives me forward in this.
I love it. So we're gonna stick with you for a second. We'll catch everybody up a little more on your story. I know that you have always loved learning, and you mentioned when we were preparing that you've always gotten good grades.
Yeah.
And what is it that you love about learning?
It's, I don't know. So I've always been curious of the surroundings and what is like happening all over. And so I don't know, it just gives me joy to learn. And even if I finished my PhD, I signed into applied ethics as well. So I couldn't stop. And so even if I finished school, I still signed into school because I didn't see that I could skip school.
Yeah.
So it gives me like excitement and a reason. It's in a way, maybe, again, to answer to the question before, it gives me a meaning.
Wonderful.
Is there anything specific, and anybody can answer this one, but Guojon, you just said it gives you meaning. Can you help define what that meaning is for you?
I can say maybe to become like a part of the society. I feel like I'm part of some group in a way. Like I become a specialist in some field, and then I feel like I'm in on something. which seems to be that it drives many people, gives meaning to many people.
I think that's powerful given the day, right? Rare Disease Day, people are coming together in probably 1,000 different ways today to be a part of something with others, to be a part of a community. So I love hearing that. Anthony, how about you? What is, well, shoot, now I'm forgetting my own question.
I remember it. So
Good.
what gives me meaning is definitely like Guojon said, like having those goals and having something to strive for.
Mm.
And like, of course, none of us want to do it alone. Like, I love being in a community. I have an amazing community at where I work at Advanced Therapeutics. I have amazing community in the rare disease space through our Odyssey, the meetups we do through Jett Foundation and camp. It's really just like finding all these communities and then working with those communities to strive toward a common goal. I think that's what gives us meaning, and I imagine that's what gives so many people around the world meaning as well. Just being part of a group and a community and doing amazing things with them.
Yeah, I think that's so important for all of us that have felt so many times like we don't belong, right? And we don't have a place and we can't contribute, to find that community and that job or whatever that you can contribute to gives us all meaning, right? And I really like that. Let's hear from Elijah. Same to you. What gives you meaning?
Right. I would start off with saying, so Simon Sinek, maybe some of you heard of him, some of you not. Great author, love his book. Start with why. His concept of why, right? It's, why you do what you do. I love that man and I love that book. Start with why. And so I found my why. My why is this. It's to minimize human suffering and propel human prosperity so that humanity can have a better quality of life. That's why I do what I do. That gives meaning to my life. That's my purpose in this life, is to minimize human suffering, whether that's trying to help science to, cure genetic diseases, or whether that's, trying to help somebody that's going through a tough time, or coming up with better solutions to, minimize human suffering. I think of the homelessness issue. I think of, drug addiction. I think of, people, I would even go as far as saying that people not having enough, income. How can we make, economic situations better for people? These are the things that I'm interested in. So that would be minimizing human suffering. And then advancing human prosperity, that's things like developing new technologies that make people's lives better. So they kind of go side and side, or educating people, teaching them things that would help them. I think of like financial education, becoming better with their finance, or I think of, marketing knowledge so that they could do better in their business, or I think of, a practical philosophy, maybe it's ancient stoicism, which teaches people how to be better equipped to deal with the adversities of life. Things like that would lead to human prosperity. And together, when you put both of these things together, minimizing human suffering and advancing human prosperity, it leads to a better quality of life for humanity. And that's really what I want to see. I want to see everybody win. I want to see humans have a better quality of life. I think that if humanity gets better in terms of, our standards of living get better, and people, live longer, they're healthier, they're more happy, the world's a more peaceful place, things like that. I consider that to be moving forward for everybody. I think objectively everybody could agree that these are good things that we should strive for across the world. And so that's my why, and that's what gives me purpose. And I try to accomplish that every single day. I try to work on my why.
I like it. So that's a huge vision. It's beautiful. Obviously, that's the high level, right? And then as you dig down and get to the different things you're doing, but when you talk about stuff like this, it just begs the question, because you've talked about it before. When we were chatting before, you told us that you're motivated by people doubting you. And so can you explain a little of that as far as the things that drive you and move you to the next thing?
Sure, I'll tell you two stories that kind of explain that. It comes from my book, A Small If. One of the lessons actually is called rocket fuel, and rocket fuel is the idea of using people's negative energy, whether that's doubting you or straight up hating you, whatever it may be. You use that energy as motivation. You don't view it as a negative thing, but you view it as, okay, as Anthony said, you're lighting the fire underneath me to get going. Let's go do it now. You got rocket fuel, and fire, it burns hot. But rocket fuel, that's really that's gonna burn. Okay, so there's that. So when I was in 5th grade, my best friend at the time, he was doubting me and saying, "Oh, you're not as smart as me because you don't get straight A's, and I do," right? Referring to himself. And it was really annoying. I because of my wheelchair or whatever, I couldn't go get my papers, were in like the cubbies or whatever. And so he would go and get the papers as he was helping me or whatever. And he would check my grades and, "Oh, see, you got a B, you didn't get straight A," and so it was really annoying. And I thought, well, no, I just don't try as hard as you. You're a try hard at school. It's not that you're smarter than me. So I got mad. So I accepted this challenge and used his doubting to get straight A's. And in 6th grade, I think it was like straight A pluses. Like that was my life. Like I was going to make it happen. Like I would be the type of guy that would like read the textbook 3 times over until 8 o'clock at night before I went to bed, because that's just how competitive I am, and I wanted it super, super bad. So I dominated my 6th grade year, and then from that day forward, I got straight A's, and then in senior year, that's a different story. But I was busy running to destroy Duchenne. I was busy trying to cure a disease. Okay, so there's that. But then the other one is A Small If, the title of the book itself, right? So my doctor, my spine was curving, right? And when I was 16. And he wanted to put a metal rod in my back, and he was getting very serious about it. I didn't want the surgery, and I didn't want to accept that yet. So I asked him, is there anything I could do? He said, "No, I don't want to give you any false hope. There's really nothing you could do. I got to really put my foot down and encourage you to get the surgery." So I went back and forth with him because I'm not accepting it. My mom's crying. My dad's got his head down. The room's all sad and depressed. And I'm smiling because I'm not having the surgery, right? So I said, okay, let's just say I was somehow able to reverse the current state of my spine. Could I then not have the surgery, right? Let's say I was, I reversed it. And he says, well, once again, I don't want to give you any false hope. I got to put my foot down as your doctor. I never seen anybody do it. It's basically medically impossible. But I will give you a small if. I thought that's all I need to hear, a small if. So from that day forward, I taught myself how to cook. I was making these they're good, by the way. They're these chicken rice bowls with asparagus in it. Delicious. Absolutely great. I'm in. Yeah, so good. So I had meal prep.
Asparagus?
Which is good I have for breakfast. So for breakfast, I had yogurt, and I put like strawberries on it, blueberries, bananas. It was amazing. It was great. So I had meal prep because I wanted to lose weight and eat healthier. I thought, I'm going to do everything. So I taught myself to cook. So I'd be driving the wheelchair in one hand, carrying the pan in the other hand, doing all that. I worked out every single day at my house. I worked out at physical therapy, and that was probably the biggest part of this. And we did intense stuff. I mean, sometimes I'd be biting down my shirt because it hurt so much, but, I wanted to pull this off more than I cared about the temporary pain. So I did all this, all these things. 3 months later, go to my doctor, and my spine is straighter. And so that's all I needed to do is I just need that possibility, right?
Yeah.
And now that's the title of my book. But yeah, people doubting you, people saying that you can't do it, or people saying it's never been done before, it's just an opportunity to be the first to do it. So that's how I like to view situations. It's kind of like, I really look up to people like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. They have this insane mindset, and people call them crazy. And so when people call me crazy, I honestly, I take it as a compliment. Like I like to be called crazy because I definitely think I'm crazy competitive. I think have a crazy mindset, a crazy belief in myself that I can do great things. But that's great, right? That's great. And I messed it up last time we were chatting, but as Steve Jobs said, right? He said, those that are crazy enough to think that, they can do it or change the world are the ones that usually do. And so you have to have that crazy belief in yourself to do things. And if people doubt you along the way, it's just rocket fuel.
I think you're crazy, right?
Thank you.
That's probably been said to what I don't know about probably, but it was said to Thomas Edison, it was said to Steve Jobs, it was said to I'm forgetting his name, the Tesla guy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't remember his name right
Elon
now,
Musk.
but yeah, Elon Musk. Like they're all crazy.
Can I make
I
one more
think-
point? One more point. Think about Steve Jobs when he said that I want to have a screen that we can touch and it's going to do things. Everybody probably thought this guy's nuts,
Yep.
but now we're all benefiting from it, right? So it's okay to be crazy.
Yeah, even Walt Disney, right? He's changed the world, even in his craziness. You know, I'm wondering from you guys, how would you encourage somebody else in the same position as you that maybe doesn't have the same optimism that you all three seem to wake up with naturally every day? I would assume maybe not your entire life has been optimistic. Maybe it has been. But if you were talking to a 10 or 14 or 20-year-old, maybe 30 or 40, that was struggling to find a little bit of optimism or hope, how would you encourage them to keep digging for that? And I'll take volunteers on this one. I know it's a big question. And since nobody volunteered,
DJ said perhaps Elijah's book helped.
that might be true.
What would I say to it? Well, I'm 20. I guess my peers, right? What would I say to my peers? Well, I mean, I always try to tell them, like, go do something for other people. If you're going through a hard time, you're struggling to have meaning. I think we get meaning from helping other people. We get fulfillment, that's for sure. I think I tell them to do that, and they're going through a tough time. I don't want to belittle anyone's suffering. I suffer myself, but I think sometimes when we suffer, I think we truly do got to go help other people. Why do I say that? I say that because if you just focus on you and your suffering, you're kind of stuck on yourself. But when you go to serve somebody else, you kind of move away from your problem and you go help somebody else, and you feel that there's still good. There's still good taking place, if that makes sense. When everything is bad, go do some good. Go create the good, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. So I try to tell people that, and I try to tell them that, let's solve the problem. And that's what's interesting to me about Duchenne is everybody that I talk to that has Duchenne, it seems that Duchenne has made us become a problem solver, natural problem solver. I think Anthony could say that. I think Leslie, everybody with the disease could say that they have become a natural problem solver.
Anthony, would you mind talking a little bit about how you encourage somebody else to keep moving forward in life?
I would say like what I did is I found ways to cope and things that I'm passionate about. Like I think Leslie's going to talk a lot more about this, but like for me, like writing lyrics and making music, like really helped me cope and helped me find positivity. Also sharing my story and just like maybe it's like not sharing your story with the rest of the world, maybe just writing down your story and just getting all those feelings and getting all the experiences like out on paper, and then like just reading that back to yourself, I think can make you realize that it's not really as tough as you thought it was. Like a lot of things that I write about, like I look back at it and it kind of like the things I learned in the past, like if I'm going through a tough time, I look back on that situation and how I overcame it. So I guess for me, it's really like think of times in the past that you overcame something and like when you felt amazing, and just like try to teach yourself, like learn from your past and learn from yourself, but also find something to be passionate that can push you forward into the future.
Learning from your past, that's such a hard thing to do, but the best thing to do, right? Evaluating the experiences that you've been through and then applying some of those lessons you've learned. Guojon, we'll throw it to you. Before we do that, real quick, Leslie, glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in or joining us. Here in just a couple of minutes, we'll throw it to you and we'll let you introduce yourself here in just a moment. But Guojon, the question originally was, how would you encourage somebody else, whether in your same position or 10 years older or younger, how do you speak life into people that you come across?
A great question. I haven't really thought about it and probably not been enough doing it. So, but I guess, so what drove me a little bit is that knowledge of something actually Stephen Hawking said, that he said, find a meaning or like some goal to aim to reach. And that will actually increase your life expectancy. So it is known, like with occupation and stuff, that aiming at that, I mean, having occupation, having something to do every day, it actually is good for your life expectancy. And in a way, I've always wanted to live as long as I can, since I knew like the life expectancy of Duchenne. I was always like, no, I don't want to live that short. So I don't know. So that little bit drove me always as the reason why to find a meaning.
Yep, I love that. Thank you. And it doesn't matter what that meaning is, right? Everybody can define it for themselves, big or small. It's all objective, or I guess in a sense subjective. Leslie, we're so glad you were able to tune in and join us. We know you had some doctor's appointments today that kind of disrupted the plan. But if you are able to unmute, would you mind telling our viewers a little bit about you? Besides being in the car, where are you right now? Where are you from? Looks like you're still on mute, so. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I had a last minute doctor's appointment, but I'm here.
Yeah,
All right.
baby.
Good. We're glad
So-
you're able to make it.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I'm able to make it too. Yeah, better late than never.
That's right.
Yeah,
Can you
so-
introduce yourself for us?
Yes, my name is Leslie Crowley Jr. and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and a little bit about me. I'm sure, as most of you know, I have Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and I was diagnosed with that at a very young age. And about me, I'm a music producer. I make music. That's pretty much all I do. I have a online business that I attend to, and I manage, and that's pretty much how I spend the bulk of my time. But besides that, I mean, I'm just your typical guy. Nothing too fascinating. But that's pretty much it.
No, I think about being a music producer, right? You're the guy that says, no, that song is no good, or that lyric is lame, or that beat, or whatever. So how often are you the bad guy in that regard, or the mean one? Do you ever tell anybody to start over?
Well, I'm not really the one that necessarily judges the song. I'm pretty much the one that actually makes like that makes the instrumental music. like like everything from like the drums and all that to like the keys and stuff. So I'm pretty much behind that scene. I'm not the mean one. Yeah,
All right.
Leslie,
I'm not the mean one.
what is it about music that you love that really drives you to get back at it every day?
Well, initially when I first started, I was just doing it just for fun. But I actually used to write lyrics and stuff like that. So that pretty much took up most of my time. It pretty much was the only thing that I was interested at that particular time. I had to be maybe about 16 or 17 when I actually uh, first started writing music, because at that time, I mean, all my friends, they pretty much did things that I weren't out that I wasn't able to do myself. So that pretty much was something that I was able to do on my own time, and that pretty much made me feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, made me feel better, and it's pretty much the only thing I really enjoy doing.
I think that's a lot of what we've been talking about today. Find that one thing that you can really be good at and find your place, and that will give you meaning in life. I really like it. Thank you.
Yes, it gives me a lot of meaning, a lot of hope. I'm not the only person that does that for. I have a lot of other friends with muscular dystrophy that are also into music as well.
Wonderful.
You know, when you introduced yourself, you said you were junior. Is that senior driving you around today?
Yeah, he's my chauffeur today.
All right, all right.
Yeah, he's driving me, trying to navigate through all this traffic.
I can imagine. You know, I'm going to throw it out to all of you guys, and I think I'll start with Anthony on this one. But earlier we talked quite a bit. I think Elijah brought it up, the word legacy and our overall contribution when, you know, we can't contribute anymore 10, 20, 40 years from now, maybe 60, whatever it may be. What do you hope is one or two elements of your legacy? What do you hope people say or reflect about when it comes to you and what you've contributed to your family, your community, and the overall impact you're having on the world around you?
So I would say, I hope they say that he fought for everything so that he could not only live but thrive. I mean, for me, like, and many of us in the rare disease world know that like everything has to be fought for. Like, for example, I had to fight to get more nursing. I had to fight to get a mask that I used to use for my breathing at night, to discontinue for consumers, but still sell to hospitals. I also had to fight, like after I got out of the hospital and had a feeding tube installed, I had to fight with the doctors to get, or fight with insurance to get medicine approved, or fight with the doctors to figure out like how much water I could have. Like I didn't even know like how much water I was allowed to take into the tube. Like, so I think my legacy is like, even though I fought for everything, I hope that everything that I fought for, like maybe down the road, someone else might also fight for that and be able to see like to learn from what I did, and maybe even further down the road, like those won't be a problem anymore. Like those things that I fought for really readily available to everybody else, because I think if enough of us fight for something over the years, I think the system will change and things will get better. Because in reality, like, it's so silly that I had to fight for a piece of plastic for my nose, fight for water, and just fight for medicine, just really fight for everything. And that, I think it's that fight that really allowed me to be optimistic, because like my whole life has been a battle and I'm always like striving to do better. So that allowed me to improve my quality of life, even though everything's frustrating and everything's a battle. It's just great when like you win those battles in the end.
Wonderful. Guojon, same question to you. What is the one or two elements of your legacy that you want to leave behind?
It's a big question. So I would start by saying, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, when I was like in my early 20s, I would have probably, I would have valued my legacy to be like something huge. For example, a little bit like cure Duchenne, stuff like that. It was what I would have said, but so maybe that's my first answer. It's like being the one that basically cured Duchenne. That sounds extreme goal, but then I would say now just basically somebody that, to be fair, I wouldn't want to be remembered. It has changed a lot. So I basically just want a good life where I'm happy. And in a way, I don't really need to be remembered. It doesn't have to be a legacy. I just want to be me and be happy, basically. I guess that's the answer. So I mean, it doesn't have to be a legacy.
All right.
Well,
I like that.
like it or
perspective.
not, I think that will be a piece of your legacy.
Yeah.
Elijah, let's start with you. What is one or two things you hope is a part of your contribution or legacy?
Yeah, I want people to, remember me as, this guy really changed things. He really did a lot of good for the world. His whole life, I want to be somebody that people look up to when it's all said and done. And I guess on a more personal side, something that is somewhat newer for me is I want to be a great husband, right? I want to be a great husband. I want to be remembered as, oh, he was a great husband, and perhaps a father, right? Oh, he was a great father, a great husband. He treated his family right. He treated his wife great. That's what I think a lot of things come down to, is how we treat people around us, right? And I think that you could be trillionaire, right? You could be a trillionaire, you could be Michael Jackson famous. But if your character was bad and you treated people bad, it just crosses it out. It doesn't matter. It's your character that I think is the most important thing. So make sure my character is in line with all the accomplishments that I want to do. And that's why I say I want to be a great husband or great father as well.
I like it. It's the fundamentals that count. It's pretty simple. Be nice to other people, right? But it's so true. I like it. Leslie, what would you like, one or two things to be your legacy?
I think you might be on mute again.
There
we go.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I had to unmute. But yeah, I like pretty much what everybody said. So for me, I really wouldn't want to be remembered for nothing, nothing huge and then nothing big. just as somebody that's always been there to I guess be the light for somebody else that didn't have any light, or just be an inspiration for somebody else that didn't have any inspiration. That's that's pretty much what I want to be remembered by, for my legacy. Just 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 being a model of inspiration for somebody who didn't have hope, or have that hope that I had in my time of need.
Hmm.
So that's pretty much it for me.
Paying it forward. That's what we all, I think, hope to do is be grateful for what we have and then pass it on to the next person. Very good.
I would say all of you have inspired me, and I would say you've left a mark on my life, even though we've only been on the phone for just over an hour, and we've all had the privilege of meeting each other over the last couple of weeks. I love you guys already. You're incredible men that are doing some incredible things, and I'm grateful that you are willing to talk about it. A little plug for Anthony. He talked about sharing his story and wanting to write a book. And if you don't follow him on Facebook, you should. You can get a glimpse of his stories every day. Of course, we all know Elijah's got a book out there. Guojon's gonna change the world. He's got all the degrees he needs to just keep making progress for the community as a whole. And of course, Leslie, I'm sure your music is probably easy to find, or at least it should be. You guys are incredible, and I'm encouraged to be connected to you today. We want to open it up to Q&A. There's been a lot of questions coming through the chat panel, and as Alexa mentioned, we want to give time to answer some questions. We know we're going to lose Elijah in probably 10 minutes or so. So we do want to set a question for him. In fact, I think 2 people have asked in a roundabout way or different wording, but the same similar question. What kind of information, it could be tips or advice, would you give parents to children with Duchenne who maybe don't share the positivity or the outlook that you share? What is something that a mom or dad or adults in their lives can do to encourage them along that way?
What I would say is that something I've been really fascinated with studying lately is nature versus nurture. And that's something that you can control as a parent, is your nurturing environment. Something my parents have always done is they have never really let me use Duchenne as an excuse. They never really put a lot of emphasis on it, but they treated me like a normal, healthy kid. And I think that is amazing parenting skills, because it's going to develop a lot in how you see yourself, your psychology. And as I said, how you see yourself is how you're going to act. And it's going to lead to that positivity and things like that. If you just focus on the wheelchair and the disease, and that becomes your identity, but it's not, you like sports, you like music, you like eating certain types of foods, you like reading certain types of books. If your identity is more about your disease and not those things, I think it's going to be a really unproductive life, to be honest. So I think as a parent, what you got to do is raise your kids like you would anybody else, and really push on past it, and always counter every type of excuse or doubt they have. Oh, mom, I can't go to Jimmy's house because I can't get in over their stairs. Well, we will bring your ramp and you'll be able to go. Oh, mom, I can't go to the movie theater. Can't go to the movie theater. Well, we'll sit in the handicap accessible area. Always countering that stuff and not letting them get in that type of thinking is priceless, honestly, because only you can do that as a parent, because only you have that title to them. There's only one parent right? There's only one. I mean, you could either be the father or the mother. That's it. There's no one else can be a parent to somebody else. I know people say, oh, they're like a dad to me, they're like a mom to me. I get that, but at the end of the day, you are the parent to them, and so what you say and how you treat them is going to be profound.
I like
Perhaps cliche, but we have all heard it said, where there's a will, there's a way.
right. All right. What other questions do we have?
Well, I was wondering if I can add to that.
Yeah,
Sure,
please do. In fact,
please.
I'm glad you mentioned that because Anthony, I've heard you talk about growing up with your sister. So please add away.
Yes, I would say, like, just like Elijah said, like, it's about treating your child just like any other child. And also, like, my parents treated me and my sister and my brother like all equally. It wasn't like I got more attention or anything like that. Like, if if I was having trouble and I needed more attention, like, they would make sure that they like took the time to give more attention to whoever was missed out. Like, if um I couldn't go out to my brother's concert, like, they would make sure that like I could find a way to get a nurse that can take care of me while they go and support my brother or go somewhere and support my sister. Or I think it's all about like taking the time and trying to balance the time you spend with every child. Because like I don't like as someone with disability, I don't want someone else in my family to miss out because of something I'm going through. I want to make sure like my brother and my sister like get the most out of life that they can and get to spend most of the time with my parents. So I think like doing that, like it takes listening to your child and like working with them to figure out like we may not be able to do this because we have such and such event with your brother or sister, but here's like a compromise. I think it's all about being able to listen and be able to find a compromise, and also even though like as a parent you might not know a solution to something, um, go ahead and talk about it with your child because they may find a solution that's outside the box that you didn't even think about. Like a lot of the times, like if my parents like are having trouble figuring out how to make something better for me or adapt something to me, they'll reach out to me and we'll just brainstorm together how to find a solution. Because no one's gonna have all the answers, but it's all about listening and finding compromise.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. So, Guojon, I saw a question earlier that was directed toward you, and it said that they were impressed by your ability to speak English, and would you consider working for a pharma company on a cure for Duchenne? And I know some of your research was on that specifically, and so there's a job offer here, I think, in the making. So is that something that you would consider?
So yeah, I want to start by saying thank you with my English fluency. Sorry, now I missed the words. Okay. So for the big pharma, yes. So I see it. I would like to work in big pharma, specifically in proprietary drug companies that are focused on rare diseases. And as so there is one idea. I don't really care who benefits from curing Duchenne. I just want Duchenne to be cured. So anyone can really benefit from it. So I want to take part in doing that by taking part in like working for big pharma. As long as, especially if it's directed to curing rare diseases.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and then regarding my study, so in my master's I did a theoretical thesis on a theoretical cure using CRISPR-Cas9 Duchenne, and I used my own cells for it. So I made a, in theory, cure for myself.
That's amazing. Well, and so the message to whoever it was that asked that question is get a hold of Jett Foundation if you want to get a hold of Guojon, and you guys can continue that conversation. Thank you.
There is a question in the Q&A regarding independence or living alone. I guess, Guojon, you're the one I'm not sure about it. I know Anthony and Leslie and Elijah all live with family that can help with some day-to-day care. But do either of you see living alone being a possibility, and or are you familiar with any services or facilities that can help allow somebody to live independently to whatever degree that might look like? Good. Now, do you live alone, or do you have people that help you at home?
You're asking me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I am now.
So I live on the down floor of my parents' house, and I have staff. So that's how it works in Iceland. Is the government pays staff, and I get to hire the one I want. So I have always one individual with me.
I think, to be fair to that question, I know there isn't an easy answer. I really do believe a lot of that's going to be dependent on your region and probably county and state and country services that might be available to you. There's another question for the group I think we might be able to shed a little bit of light on. Have any of you participated in the clinical trials? And if so, what was that experience like for you? What was good and what was hard? So I guess the first question, have you been a participant in a trial? No. Okay, well then we can't really answer that one.
So I think I wanted to go back on the previous question about living independently.
Yeah, please do.
Like living alone versus living independently. Like I live with my parents, but like my room and most of the area that I hang out in is like on the opposite side of the house. So I kind of call it my quote unquote apartment. So like, and probably the same for Guojon. Like he's on the bottom floor, he might be on a separate floor than where they are. So I think like living independently, like it's different for everybody. Like for me, it's just about like using the care and that I have to kind of find my own place in the world. But I would say like even if you're not living alone, you can still live independently. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Because independence does not mean doing everything on your own. It means making all the decisions and deciding, okay, what am I going to do today? What are my goals for the week? Like, you don't need to do everything on your own, like physically. I think it's all about that decision making and deciding, like, that you're going to do something and that you're going to have fun doing it.
Yeah. It kind of depends on how you define independence and living alone, right? And I love how you redefine it, because we all have a thought in our head of what it means, but it means something different in different situations. So I like that.
Yeah, in a sense, independence is a mindset, not necessarily a tangible or physical circumstance.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Well, it seems like we have hit Well, I guess I'm gonna
have-
scroll real quick. I don't know if there's
Yeah,
any pending.
I wrote them down, so I'm just gonna, there is a question about one of their sons is having a hard time with transitioning. Do any of you have any advice for them, and what that looks like for you guys and what that looked like? Any advice?
So I guess transitioning, is that like transitioning from the bed to the chair and all that? Or is it like transitioning from walking to a wheelchair or?
Yeah, ambulatory to non-ambulatory.
Got it. Anybody have thoughts or advice there? Just maybe in the mindset or even in the practical advice, objective advice as well.
So I can maybe start. So
Yeah.
I don't remember it in my case for it much to be a problem, other than so I didn't feel it was a problem, and I remember my parents were more like, "Oh, it's great. They made it exciting. It's fun. It's a car, kind of thing." And yeah, now I'm like, yeah, exactly. And so it was like it was always a gadget. I was like, oh, it's a wheelchair. Oh, it's an amazing gadget, something, stuff like that. And so it became fun. It became fun every time. Plus, they always said it's more comfortable. It's easier way of living. And so I just accepted that. So, and I also want to say now as a 30-year-old, this transition is not what is the hardest thing about this. It's actually easy. Like to stop walking. I'm not saying you shouldn't try to walk, but I'm saying not have to worry about falling from trying to walk was a huge relief, which I didn't realize at the time, but now I see that just sometimes having the assistive devices is just good. It's better. So maybe try to think that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it all depends on how you see it, how you look at it, what parts of it you emphasize. So, yeah, thank you. Alexa, or you know what, group, do we have any more input on that? Or do we have, Alexa, one more question?
Yep. So what do you advise parents to tell their kids about the severity of their condition? Their son's almost 13, ambulatory, and not yet aware of life expectancy prognosis. So, when it comes to, talking about Duchenne and the reality of it, what would your advice be to parents about talking to their kids about Duchenne and what that looks like going forward?
That's a heavy question. I like it.
So I would say for me, like, I think I'm glad that my parents told me, like, they didn't tell me everything right away. They told me things when I asked. Like, and I would say, like, as simple as that. Like, if they ask, like, you can answer it. Like, I think it's worse, like, if it was unknown and it was scary for me. Because I'd be like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know what's wrong with my body. Like, knowing that there was something that was affecting my body, like, that was better than thinking it was just like an unknown problem. And also for me, like, I feel like if my parents didn't tell me when I answered, like, I would go to the internet, I would search on Google, and I would find all these scary answers that are outdated and probably not true.
Hey, you still home?
So I'd rather, like, hear from my parents and talk about it with them than find out on my own when it's scarier.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a parent, but that's what was going through my head. I feel like smartphones weren't a thing when I was 13, but Google was still pretty easy to access. And I think you're right, Anthony. A lot of the information that we can find online is oftentimes outdated or inaccurate. And And reading those things can be a challenge.
And then we do have one more. I know we're, running out of time, but we did have one question specifically for Anthony about video games. Their son's not able to play video games anymore. Or my son is really worried to not be able to do this anymore with his friends. Do you have any words or thoughts to share with him on how to get through it? And then that will be our last question. If you guys have any other questions, please do put it in the Q&A and we'll make sure that it gets to the panelists afterward.
I guess I kind of talked about this before, but I guess what I'll say is, like the Overjoy controller that I helped make, like we're in beta right now, and I'm actually I'll like talk to Alexa after this, but maybe set up an event in the future where y'all can try the controller out and they give me feedback. And like I said, I want to do this as a community. I want to do this together. And if we put all heads together, we can make this controller like what all of us need.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I haven't been able to play a video game in maybe about like 5 years. 5 years due to my hands. So I recently found myself, I guess, trying to get back into gaming, and I actually have 2 other friends that live stream, and they play video games and stuff like that, and they both have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and we just all been trying to find a way to get back to playing video games. So eventually it may get hard to play video games, but there's always still, I guess, some ways. Control stuff like that. So, look more into.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. As Alexa said, we're just about out of time. So we wanted to thank you guys. This panel has been incredible. The thing that I take away from it, that one thing that I'm going to be thinking about is how I pay things forward. I think that each of you touched on that. You guys are certainly thriving in your lives. And the thing that I take away is your willingness and your want to pass it on to the next person to make sure they thrive as well. And I think that's something we can all learn from. So thank you guys so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate you, Sean, Kyle, Anthony, Elijah, Guojon, Leslie. Thank you so much. I can't even express how amazing this was. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your experiences and being open and honest and allowing us to have this conversation. This will be posted, like I said, it will be recorded and posted to our website and YouTube. So if you do want to watch it or share it, please do. We hope you have a wonderful day. If you guys have any questions, like I said, please, you can email me, alexa@jettfoundation.org, and I will make sure that they get to the panelists and the moderators. If you choose to ask the moderators questions, you can do that too. So please reach out if you need anything. Thank you again for being here. Happy Rare Disease Day 2022, and we will see you at our other events and our other programs as well. So thank you guys, and thank you again to all of you for being here. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
All right.